we've talked about it multiple times, Stacks. The new blood is here, and the new blood is looking for some victories. And with Endpoint rocking some of the old and some of the new, I don't know. I feel like they got a good mixture. Metanoris is still playing at RLCS LAN. That is resilient, Stacks.
It is, and it's a career in Metanoris's that has certainly had its ups and downs. The peak of Season 4, then the great moment that he shared with you on stage in London. And then everything just kind of came to a screeching halt for Metanoris, and you wondered, would he continue on that path? And he has, but he had to kind of go down to the bottom a little bit, then come back. It's been a long road back to the top for Metanoris, but he has stuck with it. That resiliency could serve Endpoint well here as we get going with this series. Relating Wave, dancing through the air, got to the ceiling but can't get the shot on target. Does at least require a save out of Garrett G, and now this out to the side from Justin. Relating Wave gave it a look. Metza calls him off, and it's Squishy with the clear.
That's another thing you have to talk about, too. We talked about Mets, we talked about Seiko, but Relating Wade, another super strong player. We've seen his mechanics on Showcase, and it fits in beautifully with his Endpoint team. Teamwork on point, but they are up against the general NRG. This squad is definitely one to watch out for. Garrett starting to go for some very exciting things, Stacks. That makes me happy because it means we should have a good match on hand.
One thing Endpoint's really got going for it is NRG has faced a lot of talent in their time together. They haven't faced a player quite like Seiko. The way he took over and dominated in the European split, second to none in the region, but hasn't been that Seiko here at LAN. If he comes alive, NRG gonna have a rough go of it. Seiko shot here, saved away. Follow up, brought right back in. Seiko shot, scores!
Seiko, the man we've all been hyping up, grabbing the first goal in this best of 5 off a beautiful touch there from Metanoris from the side. That's clinical. He makes those shots, but it did take them 2 minutes to break past NRG.
It's Metanoris setting up Seiko for the opening goal, and NRG now has to answer in the next 3 minutes. Drop down for Justin to play, but it got around him, so Squishy has to bring this back in, as he so often does. Garrett G all the way at the back, and he just beat Seiko to the punch. Big win for NRG. Can they do anything with it? Justin with a good catch. Relating Wave wins that 50, and it's Squishy now to the side. Beaten again by Seiko. Boy, he's just winning darn near every 50 is Seiko, and NRG slower because of it. Squishy got this shot away, and then there's Seiko again, just teleporting around the field.
Good cut there. I like the heads up. NRG not rushing towards anything. If they can get control, that'll be their first priority. It is difficult, though. Endpoint's moving fast in the air.
Squishy wide to try and set up Justin, but it's going to be Garrett G all alone at the back with Metanoris bearing down on him. NRG struggling to clear the zone for any appreciable amount of time. Justin up high, got the read! Justin's back, it's tied!
NRG answers back nicely. Look at this speed from Justin. How do you read this? How do you read that? Only Justin can do something that phenomenal.
Every now and then, the great ones still find a way to amaze us. Justin did there. Blocked from the corner. Here goes Relating Wave. Gonna be all alone. Not a whole lot of help. Now Metza coming on. Seiko was across. Squishy's shot is set away just barely by Relating Wave. Got that to the crossbar. Everybody had to burn a ton of boost, though, to get to that ball. And now Garrett G just lets this go, and Squishy will control to the corner. Got over Metza, but Metza did the right thing. Couldn't get the ball, got the player. Cuts off that attack. Now Squishy gonna try to serve one up for Garrett G. Nothing doing there. Squishy can follow. last minute of game one. Relating Wave finishes off the defensive effort as Metza gets us to the center line, but only that far. NRG starting to turn the tide just a little bit. Endpoint trying to turn it back in their favor. Seiko can't get around for that for one more touch that would have given them the lead.
There's a good push chance here, though. One defender, 2 NRG. Those are opportunities you want to see. Some team plays coming out. Some forethought put into the drive. That wasn't there.
20 seconds separating us from overtime in game one. It would be fitting. Seiko with the save. Stopping Garrett G. Now Justin on his way back. Full boost to deal with this ball. 7 seconds. Tried to hang around in the corner. Good block. Justin trying to break free. Metsanora stops him, and we go to overtime in game one. Barely.
Squishy was so close to approaching that ball. Another half a second. He actually would have.
Ooh, almost. That's it away, though. Seiko. Now Squishy.
Shot at net, Garrett.
Justin. Oh, looking for the flip reset. Metsanora cut him out. Seiko. Through the wing. And Squishy stops this one. Can he spring Justin downfield? Justin got plenty in the tank. Got his shot off. Seiko with the save off the post. Follow up off the crossbar. NRG let a good one go by. And they're not going to get another look here. Squishy's got to retreat. NRG had the win in the bag. Now Squishy's shot again. Set away.
It was a nice drive. Endpoint happy they're still in it. They can't set up their own, though, and this is looking like an NRG that's starting to find a bit of their flow. They might be beginning to understand Endpoint's moves here. So Endpoint definitely going to need a switch up if they're looking for an OT winner.
Around in front. Justin lets it go. Garrett G for the win, and the captain can't score. Follow-up saved away, and Squishy unable to end it there. He's had a few opportunities to put this game away in the second half and into overtime. Now Justin. Good ball out to midfield, but Metsanoris read it quickly. Conserved his boost. Seiko now picked his spot. Almost scored. Here's Metza. Endpoint takes game one.
Beautiful precision from Metsanoris. He had so many defenders from NRG in the way. Garrett and Justin had that entire left side covered. He had to put it off the far post, and he does. Metsanoris, a minute 42, and they take it.
There was a minute 42 left in the game when Justin tied it with that incredible double. And with a minute 42 gone in OT, it's Metsanoris cleaning up Seiko's first effort. And Endpoint takes game one, and I mean, you can already see there is stress on the left-hand side of your screen. Endpoint boys know, all right, we got one. You can see Metza stretching. That's something they do as a team. Just take a moment, just get loose again, stretch it out, set back down. You don't get the timeouts here to work with in the Swiss rounds, so take your breaks when you can get them.
I think that's something that's important to realize too. When you stand up, it's the same reason I'm doing it now. Where the energy is a lot more of that blood flow is a lot more consistent. So if you can get up between your games like that, like Metsanaris was doing, you said it. That's something Endpoint has been pushing huge, is making sure that energy stays high. It's so easy when you're sitting there all day. They were waiting, getting warmed up. You're scrimming before this. You start to tunnel vision. You start to zone in. And that's not something you want. You want your mind as open as possible, and having that blood flow is very important to making sure you stay in the game mentally.
Yeah, your physical wellness is something that we never really saw highlighted with teams in LAN environments until maybe around Season 6 with Dignitas and the support that org had for its team. And now we're seeing a little bit more of the emphasis on physical health and mental health as well. Greg is a huge advocate in that regard, and we've seen that with Endpoint. It has served them well in Europe. #1 team trying to bring a big one over NRG. Got the pressure on in game 2. Metza Norris had to the shot, and Garrett G sends it away, coming in from behind. Relating wave all the way back to bring it right back in. How about the passing point to point? And Squishy had to be on his toes to make that save.
This is rough here. Garrett somehow stays in the way. That's just slowly bouncing around in front of the NRG net. I have no idea how that managed to stay out with that awkward positioning from NRG.
That's LAN defense. Just a little bit quicker, and those split seconds matter. Metza Norris has Seiko. LAN offense is a thing too. Big demolition. Squishy still with the save. Seiko for relating wave. What a pass! What a play! What a team!
The OT winner placed far right. And the game 2 opener placed far right as a scramble of NRG defense fails to find any structure. This is something that significantly needs to change, because that is not a defense that's going to hold up against, well, most of the teams here at LAN.
Endpoint scored first in game 1. That went to a nearly 2-minute overtime. Squishy trying to outlet for Garrett G. Now Seiko. Seiko going to take this himself, and Justin up there to meet him. Didn't let him get the shot off. Boom downfield. Justin's not going to be able to get to this in time. Seiko with the challenge. Now Squishy taking it into his own hands. Far side, and he scores! Squishy finally on the board.
Hey, just because your defense was struggling doesn't mean your offense has to as well. Good read from Squishy. He beats out relating wave. He was close, but that gets placed nicely to get around wave onto the far side and still manage to get in the net.
NRG not wasting any time this time, getting that goal back, and then Garrett scores on the kickoff. NRG's in front.
They are mad about their performance earlier, and they're making up for it. Great cheat from Garrett. Wins it out against that cheat from Endpoint. And they'll take the lead. Endpoint probably not happy, and NRG still has to watch out for defense. Get all the kickoff goals you want, but if it gets back in your own end, based off what we've seen, Endpoint's looking to grab another goal.
Oh, Justin dancing through the blue half of the field. Could not fool the defense. Seiko lets relating wave take over here. Seiko's got no boost in the tank at all. Now Metza Norris was hoping that midfield would be there. It's not. And now out of the corner, it's relating wave for the lead, or for the tie rather. Not the case. Now Metza drop one in front. Garrett saved right over to Squishy. Brilliant touch as NRG relieves the pressure. That's a huge win defensively for the General.
Oh, it is, considering how we've seen it handled before. The fact that they get that clear out, get themselves situated again. The unfortunate thing is they're right back there immediately after.
Seiko tried to pop that up, and Garrett G has seen a few things in his time as a pro. Justin got around Metza with ball and car. Now Garrett G to just dish us off to the side, and Seiko read it the whole way. Can he set up relating wave? He sure can, and Justin had the save. Rather, that was Metza Norris with the shot. Now here goes Garrett. Could have had a numbers advantage, but just couldn't get out of the zone in time. Seiko's shot addressed by Squishy.
Yeah, we're seeing a bit of a pace change from Justin, in all honesty. He's looking mad. He's looking a bit more motivated. He's been working that offense. We see him crushing past one, maybe even two people, trying to set up his teammates. They haven't found an opening yet, but the pace change is what's a good sign if you're an NRG fan.
Seiko shot trying to generate a rebound. Relating wave couldn't play that any further, though, as Garrett wins this back to the endpoint half of the field, down to a minute 10 to try and level this game at 2 goals apiece. Metza drop that back for relating wave. This is trouble. Seiko all alone and saved by the post. Now here goes Seiko, looking to take advantage of the NRG defense. Drop down for relating wave off the rebound. Metza Norris is there. Another clutch goal from Metza.
Tied game. Almost a setup there from Seiko's Justin that actually cleared that one down center. And Endpoint, relentless, just powers through and managed to break that NRG defense, which honestly hasn't been the hardest thing in this series. But they were trailing.
Justin, big drive, and immediately NRG answers as they continue to score in bunches in game 2.
Good touch from Squishy. I like Justin's speed. That's what we want to see.
41 seconds remain for Endpoint. Relating wave goes through. Metza couldn't get this cleanly, nor could NRG. Endpoint breaks out in formation. Seiko at least got a touch. Relating wave's bouncer saved away. Relating wave again, trying to drop this in front, and Squishy has that clear too. Seiko near the mark, easily dealt with by Justin. That's a great pass though towards Seiko. Didn't quite lead him far enough. And now NRG will try to burn away the final 10 seconds. Garrett G almost reluctantly coming on to play that ball. Justin up high, looking to score here, and he does!
Way! This is what you want to see out of Justin. 1v3, get out of my way! Beautiful dunk. Those defenders had no chance. And NRG take a 2-goal lead with 2 seconds left. They're gonna tie up the series 1-1.
Assists have been a talking point for many of these series here at LAN. We've seen so many great individual efforts. That's the first goal without an assist in this series. Justin making it happen all on his own to put that game away emphatically. NRG ties the series.
And what a way to do it. We were very concerned, at least I was, for NRG coming into this match. We saw some questions on whether they're going to hit their peak coming into day 2, because it was not the best in day 1, and now we see them start off a little slow, but all of a sudden Justin pulls it back. That defense, we're still yet to see if they can work that out, but Justin is taking things into his own hands right now. He is moving fast. He is not allowing Endpoint to have any breathing room on their own half. Anytime that ball's there, Justin's there. We like to see that setup from Squishy. He's a playmaker. He knows how to get that ball to his teammates. But Justin is the one we want to see on that offense, and we're starting to see it. Is it perfect yet for NRG? Absolutely not, Stacks. But this is a start.
It's a heck of a start. This also could be. Garrett G is up. Drop down for Justin, trying to continue the play, and Seiko, excellent defense out of him and Endpoint, and it has had to be to keep NRG in check. As you mentioned, the way Justin's going now, this Justin might be impossible to stop. He's got the ball again. Metza at least delayed him for now. And this is sent across. Squishy had to give up that corner boost, but he could still get downfield. NRG has had the possession here in this opening minute, Leaf, but Endpoint have answered the bell so far.
So far, you say Justin might be unstoppable, but you gotta remember Endpoint do have a Seiko. And this guy has been nuts on the field. Yet to see him really pop off, in all honesty. And wonderful to see that as the match goes on. But Endpoint playing their game. It's been a relatively close series. Sure, they lost game 2, but it definitely didn't seem out of control.
Relating wave, clean win, got Seiko trailing behind. This will angle downward and set away by Justin. Metza had to stay way back. A little slow getting up the side wall. NRG gonna make him pay. It's Justin again from Squishy.
Justin is gonna carry on his momentum from the first one. Great setup. We talked about Squishy being that playmaker. There he is again. He's looking for Justin. When you have a player like this that starts feeling it, you feed that ball to him. And NRG has the right idea.
NRG has scored the last 3 goals in this series. Justin, by the way, has scored the last 3 goals in this series. Garrett G, that's going to find Justin. The ball just seems attracted to him at this point. Squishy up to meet relating wave. Metza can't get this down for Seiko. He's got to retreat back to the blue half of the field. Good first touch. Looking to follow it up. That's another great defensive stop by Squishy. Here's relating wave, denied by Garrett G. And the follow-up comes from Metza to keep this in the zone. He had to burn all of his boost to do so. Needs some help. It comes in the form of Seiko. And then Garrett G At least stalls out Endpoint long enough. The rest of NRG can get back and recover with boost and positioning.
The halfway mark, Endpoint, sure, are holding in, but they've not been able to find any true threatening shots. They've been stuck trying to poke from that midfield. So NRG's definitely done a lot better job of making sure Endpoint can't find an offense, that they've certainly found their own offense, and who is it but none other than Justin again with the goal.
It's just not fair. Not at this point. This Justin is out of this world. He's added another 4 in a row for the young phenom. Endpoint certainly does have Seiko, but he can't stop Justin. He can only hope to match him, and so far he has not. Seiko on his way back. Another booming clear just into a general area. Unfortunately, it's the general's area. Justin threads the needle. Only one man to beat him. Metsanoris just barely got a piece of him. Garrett still gets the demo. Endpoint in complete disarray, and Relating Wave's done an excellent job just maintaining possession for a moment to give his teammates time.
As Garrett was just on a hunt. Took out one player, bumped the other. He's trying to open up that scoring chance, but thankfully Squishy did realize that that wasn't going to be an opportunity to score, and he stayed back. Endpoint, on the other hand, did manage to recover quickly, but not find themselves on a strong offense. They're still looking for those scoring lanes.
Justin got the flip reset. Relating Wave has to make a quick turn just to get to this ball. Didn't have a lot of boost to work with. Here's Garrett G. Just pushing one wide, making Endpoint burn almost all of their boost. Metsanoris back with a full tank. He is all the way behind the play. Gonna have to come up sooner or later. This is passed down in front for Metza and saved away right at the last. 1 minute to go. Endpoint down 2. The biggest deficit of this series, of course, outside of the final 2 seconds of the last game. Both these teams have been neck and neck for most of the way, but the edge belongs to NRG.
It certainly does at this point. Endpoint's got a very solid foundation. But to repeat, it's that offense that they've had trouble finding any kind of useful scoring lane. NRG shut it out pretty well after the abysmal start to game 1.
Squishy over towards Justin. More possession out of NRG. Endpoint trying desperately to get to the ball just to have a chance. That's deflected away. 7 seconds. Got to score here to have a chance at a kickoff goal. Nothing doing. And NRG 1 win away from dispatching Endpoint here in the 3rd round.
Man, this was a different tale in game 1. We saw NRG struggling on that defensive half. Everyone's shaking their head saying, what is going on? And I'm sure the team was doing the same thing. But that switched up. That changed. Halfway through game 2, there was a click. And that click mostly came with Justin. The pace change is what NRG needed. And now you see Garrett playing that support, playing that third man. Squishy playing the playmaker, trying to get in there first to get that ball out to Justin. That's the setup they need, but that's the setup Endpoint needs to start to disrupt.
Justin has scored 4 goals in this series. He's been the only player to score in the last 8 minutes of game time for NRG. That only broken up by the 1 strike from Metsanoris late in that 2nd game. Justin has come alive. I thought it would be Garrett G. It's not like he's just chopped liver out there. NRG working as a well-oiled machine. It's almost like assembly line offense, and it ends with Justin popping off.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though, is when you got a formula, there's a way to break it. And Endpoint, you know, is chatting right now and trying to find out, how do we disrupt those? How do we take a piece of that equation away and make sure that it stops before it can be finished? And, you know, I think they've tried a few things now. They've got that foundation, as I said. They found themselves decently strong around the defensive and midfield half, but they've not been able to push past that point. I wonder if that comes into implementing some demos into the rotation on the goal line, or if it comes to just having a bit more riskier passing plays up a bit higher, out of reach of the NRG team. So honestly, there's a few solutions. implementing them way harder. We can theory craft as much as we want, but doing it out there on the field is not an easy task, or else we'd all be doing it. So Endpoint looking now for those solutions and trying to find out how to break NRG. If they can't, that's going to be an NRG win, as they are sitting on match point stacks.
This is where you highlight the importance of a coach. It has been Eclipse's job to navigate these tricky waters for Endpoint, find a weakness, and help his team identify and exploit that weakness. That's Eclipse's job here. You have to find a way to get Justin off his game. You have to find a way to slow down NRG. Good luck. Hey, that's your job, not mine. I'm just here. I'm 4,000 miles away. I don't have anything to offer. That's where Eclipse comes in, and tell you what, there are very few that are better in the business than him.
And that's just a caster's motto. We have nothing to offer.
Yeah, no, absolutely nothing to offer. I don't know why. I don't know why y'all don't just mute the stream. Enjoy the game. Why not?
I haven't muted. I've just been lip reading. I have you muted this entire time. But Endpoint, again, looking for that solution. They're doing their best to try and break NRG. Just to reiterate while we get the game ready, they have to shut down. I'm thinking Squishy to start off. He's been setting up Justin. You also want that speed broken for Justin. If you can get boost away from him, that's another potential solution. But looking for that while Justin's already up in the air tends to be a little bit difficult. You have to be a couple steps ahead of him. In a game like Rocket League, thinking a few steps ahead is relatively difficult, because the course of action can change in the next half a second, depending. That person goes up for a ball to hit, you think you know where it's going, but they flub it and it goes that way. The entire plan that you had probably just went out the window. Very reactionary. So coming up with those plans that are a few steps ahead, not that easy. But I do think trying to take away those back corners from NRG, that boost, is going to be important. And looks like 2 minutes already passed at Endpoint.
All right.
Up a goal.
I see we have decided to apply the all handicap for NRG. Justin's so good, we've given Endpoint a goal. We'll find out exactly who scored that in a moment, as we are halfway through our fourth game, a game that Endpoint has to win to avoid dropping to 1-2. Actually, just by process of elimination. I tell you, it's probably Seiko.
I think it's Seiko.
Why wouldn't it be? Here's Justin.
I mean, that's a safe bet off the bat. But, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. They found the solution. We don't know what it is yet.
I think it's just being a little camera shy. That's all. Like, hey, don't put us on stream for the first couple minutes. At least give us a shot, nerves and all of that. The world is watching. But now they're watching, can they hold this lead with 2 minutes left? A 1-goal lead over the general NRG. The leading wave will send that high to the wing, and now it's Justin out front for Garrett G. Squishy is lurking behind the play, waiting to come into action. He was waiting for the midfield boost. Never got there. Now Metza. Just dump it right back in with 90 seconds left. So that 30 seconds goes by relatively uneventfully. Endpoint holding the line. If they let NRG get their opportunities, this scoreline's going to change real quick.
NRG's looking for that goal, but they might be pushing a little too hard there. They had to get back for a shot from Metz, so they got to be careful about not hunting too hard. They are playing from behind with only a minute left. They give up another one, there's a good chance they don't regain this game 4.
Metza with a great bump on Squishy as we get to the final minute. Justin, yet again, he is free and clear, and Seiko just made the save. Garrett G pulled the string. Squishy coming on. He can't make the shot go through either, and this ends up back on the NRG half. Justin couldn't get there, but it's not punished immediately by Endpoint. What a great opportunity, though, for NRG at that 50-second mark. This is roughly where they scored in Game 1 to force OT. That ball goes over to Squishy. Angling out, and Relating Waves got yet another pop out to the side. Squishy again. His shots just have not fallen. Only 1 goal so far. All eyes have been on Justin, who has been quiet here in Game 4. All the way across now. Squishy again denied by Metza Norris. 7 seconds left. Garrett G's got to trigger the counter. from way back at his own end line. This will bounce one more time. Squishy, no, it's Justin, and that will seal it for Endpoint. They go to game 5.
Yeah, I didn't expect this one to be a quick series, in all honesty. You talked about this being a coin flip. You're absolutely right. And we're seeing that going to a game 5 now. Justin's picked up the pace. NRG's found a little more structure defensively, but Endpoint did find a solution in that game 4 of what they needed to do to disrupt it. It doesn't matter if it's one goal. It's a leading goal, and that's a winning goal. And they bring us to a game 5. What that solution was, I have no idea because we didn't see it, but they found it. And for Endpoint fans, that's a good thing. Just rest assured they're still in this series.
What did seem weird is at the end, we saw a lot of shots, specifically out of Squishy, trying to open up the defense of Endpoint, and Endpoint on point. Did not allow any juicy rebounds for Justin or for Garrett. And Garrett's been quiet on the goal scoring front too. I think the total scoring right now for NRG, Garrett 1, Squishy 1, Justin 4. He had scored all of those in a row. And now we're going up on, let's do caster math, about 13 minutes now. 13 minutes and 1 second since anybody other than Justin has scored a goal for NRG. Now somebody else has to step up. Endpoint has at least quieted Justin for a game. Now we go to Champions Field. Does Metza have the ice? Can Seiko come alive? His shot is through, sitting on the goal line and in.
How many goal line situations have we seen at this Sweden Major? Seiko comes down and finishes this one off by himself, and this is why Endpoint is looking so good. They got a solid team with a solid point man in Seiko.
Squishy to the heavens. He's got Garrett G all the way across. His shot on the money, and we're immediately tied up in 5.
This has been a battle of Justin versus Seiko, but Justin doesn't want all the credit. Beautiful pass across to Garrett. The high-flying maneuvers allows the general NRG. They got themselves tied up. 15 seconds in, and we're back to the start.
So that ends the scoring drought for NRG very quickly into game 5. Squishy shot, sent away by Seiko. Justin waiting on the left wing, but this is going to find Relating Wave after he took out Squishy. And Metza can dump this off to the corner. Garrett G headhunting as well. Now Seiko, 50 boost and a dream. Endpoint on the prowl. But Garrett G, good clear. This might be an own goal. It is dangerously close to the net. What a save by Relating Wave. Remember that touch that set this up as Endpoint just barely gets out of trouble.
No.
And then Relating Wave turns it into a goal.
If that ain't a counterattack, I don't know what is. Beautiful touch from Metzenaris to make sure that Squishy had no idea how that was going to bounce out. Relating Wave can just jump in, give it a little tippy tap, and that's a lead for Endpoint.
That sequence from Endpoint, how does that ball, first of all, not go into their own net? Second, Relating Wave turning it around that quickly. And now NRG looking for yet another quick answer. Relating Wave didn't have as much boost as he might have liked. That's a great stop, though, just ramming right into Squishy, stopping his momentum dead in its tracks. And now up high, Garrett G had to let this come down. Endpoint not up as far as they needed to be to punish NRG there. And with 3:30 to go, finally things look like they've stabilized.
Well, NRG probably isn't looking for stabilization right now because they're trailing. They definitely want to mix up in that scoreline. They're poking and prodding now from midfield. Endpoint doing a good job of holding them at bay.
Oh, Justin, he was looking. Garrett had the setup for Squishy. Not in time, though. Endpoint just a little bit faster defensively than NRG is on the offensive end. Metza, oh, that's right at Squishy. This could be trouble for Endpoint, but that's a great read by Seiko. Eyeing that corner boost, but 2 went to the corner. Nobody was available for the ball coming out. Relating Wave going to try to
On
create
the
on his own
way.
with a flip reset, and it's just off the mark. Oh, a little bit high. One more from Endpoint might have. I know there's still 2.5 left, but that might have been the straw that broke the camel's back. Seiko looking as well. Garrett G just popped it away.
I can't believe that shot didn't go in for Endpoint. It was so close. NRG thanking their lucky stars. But that attacker was out of boost. Past the halfway mark, NRG in Game 5 still can't find that tying goal.
NRG has caught a few breaks. Here in Game 5, they have not cashed in on those opportunities. Justin going to take this through himself. Relating Wave got a piece, and this is just going to find its way in. Metanoris couldn't catch up, and Justin ties the game from way downtown.
Who got that demo on the far side? I missed it, but that opened up the defensive
I
half.
think it was Squishy.
Super heads-up play if it was. And that brings NRG back in with 2 minutes left.
Squishy finding a way to get involved in the offense. The great ones do. Relating Wave. Fireworks high above the NRG net with just under 100 seconds separating us from our second overtime in this series. We started in OT in Game 1. It was Endpoint and Metanoris coming out on top. Game 5 headed down that road as Justin has to let this go. Squishy out to the corner. Minute 15. Lateral pass from Metza. And Garrett G over the top of Relating Wave. And NRG can finally clear the zone. Had to be up quick was Metza with Justin in the air. And this water falls down. This is dangerous. Endpoint for the lead. It's Seiko.
Seiko versus Justin is the story of this match. Back and forth, Endpoint taking the lead, a minute left. He's always there for the setup or the cleanup. You did not want this guy on your half of the field.
Fourth goal for Seiko. He has indeed matched the output of Justin. -1. Garrett G set away by Metza. Endpoint only has to hold on for less than 45 seconds. Seiko beaten by Garrett G. And Metza does not let this get anywhere near the ground. Justin close to his own back line. So too is Squishy. Now this gets through. Could be awkward for Endpoint. Ooh. What a clear by Relating Wave. Yeah. Follow up here off of Metza. Garrett G. The captain denied by the youngster Seiko. The rookie. Sensational here in Game 5, even Game 4 against NRG. Can Endpoint pull it off with 5 seconds? Empty net!
Way!
And Garrett G comes through!
A small opening for a brief moment opens up on the Endpoint defense, and Garrett G finds the only slot it could be put and ties it up 3-3 with 3 to go.
NRG's kickoffs have been lethal. Another opportunity. Relating Wave's got it down this and does. Alpha went to overtime. The Omega in overtime as well. Game 5 on Champions Field.
Stacks, there is no way this could have been anything other than a Game 5 overtime.
This is incredible. Two of the best in the world going at it here in the third round. One will be 1 win away from the top 8. The other will be a loss away from being knocked out of the major. It is a cruel, cruel format. Most are. Justin couldn't get around on this. Seiko and Metza can, but that's pushed wide.
That was a dangerous approach there. Endpoint had the opportunity. They can't finish it off.
Yeah, Seiko again, boy, just opportunity after opportunity there, Leaf. Endpoint probably having NRG watching the series flash before their eyes. What a clear by Justin with Relating Wave coming down. And now Squishy Lob up for Justin. No, sir. Seiko, the better of the two this time.
For a minute of overtime, both teams having scoring opportunities. My hands are raised behind my head right now because this is as tense as it can get for either of these teams. A 2-1 record would be beautiful. As you mentioned, the Swiss is unforgiving once you get to this stage.
Great win by Garrett G. Conserve some boost as well. Now he's out. And gonna have a tough time finding more. Metanoris dishes that off to the side. Justin brought it in front. It's on the goal line, but Squishy could not finish. The crossbar denies NRG. Justin thought about it. He has to retreat. Thought the last moment it was Seiko that had him beat. And now what a win by Relating Wave! Endpoint off the steal by Relating Wave are now 2-1.
It almost ends how it started. Squishy leaving the net just a little bit too soon opens up that lane for Endpoint, and they steal it away from Justin, and Endpoint come out victorious in a Game 5 overtime.